Go, David. Thank you.
Let's go underway. Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this Lunch and Learn. It's on how hybrid TV standards are making interactive content accessible. My name's David Williams from the Sony TV team. I'm a white male in my 50s, almost no hair on top, and a grey goatee beard. The purpose of the session is to give you insight into the work being done in the HBB TV Association. We're addressing accessible needs and the challenges of how to make interactive content accessible. The presenters will explain what's currently deployed and give insight into what should be possible in future. HBB TV is hybrid broadcast broadband television. I'll paste the link in the chat later. You can take a look at the association. It's a membership association where broadcasters, operators, TV makers, tech companies, app developers, tech solution providers come together to develop interactive broadcast solutions. HBB TV is used extensively by broadcasters across Europe and worldwide to deliver catch-up apps like the BBC iPlayer that provide linkage from traditional broadcast to the online world for interactive content. I'm pleased to introduce today's speakers, Olivia May, who's Head of Product Development at Digital UK, and Nigel Moore, my colleague from Sony Europe, working in TV engineering, who looks into future technologies. The session is just 30 minutes. We have 10 minutes for each presentation. Hopefully we'll have 5 to 10 minutes for Q&A afterwards. Please can I ask you if you have any questions to post in the chat, and we follow up after presentations. So without further ado, I hand over to Olivia, please. Hi, Olivia. Good afternoon.
Hello, how are you doing? So I'm just going to share my screen with you.
Turn camera off. Activate. Press space bar. Space. Your video is off. Hybrid TV standards. Turn camera.
Hopefully you can see that. David, can you let me know when you can?
Now it's coming. If you can go to presentation mode, it'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Is that working?
Not in presentation mode yet.
Okay. It should be coming. I think there might be a little bit of lag on the line. While that's loading, let me tell you a little bit about my organisation. I work for a company called Digital UK, and we run and manage the day-to-day operations of a platform called Freeview Play. We are the largest platform in the UK because we are in 18 million homes, both as Freeview Play products and as the Freeview linear channels that you'll know well from the BBC, ITV, Channel 4, etc. Has that come through yet? Can you see it, David?
I'm not getting presentation mode yet, unfortunately. It's still in, I'm seeing the big view, but I see the slide sorted on the side. I think it's okay, we can proceed like this. But,
it's fine, yeah. I think
right?
just carry on.
Let's see if I can zoom it in a little bit more.
Olivia, your audio is a bit faint.
Okay, I'll try and...
You could move closer to your mic, thank you.
I will do. So let me tell you a little bit more about Freeview Play in the UK TV market. As I said, we're #1 TV platform across the UK. We're at 18 million homes, and we have sold 13 million Freeview Play devices. About 10 million of those are active devices. So the Freeview Play devices are smart TVs, which show both linear channels and also have the catch-up services that you'll know well from BBC iPlayer, ITV Hub, All 4, etc. We have many hours of TV content. It's about 30,000 hours of content. And of course, that makes it difficult for people to find the viewing that they like sometimes, because they need to wade through lots and lots of content in order to find the right kind of content for themselves that has the right kind of accessibility versions. The way that we get such massive scale is to work and collaborate with device partners across the UK market. So we work with 19 of the top 20 TV brands, brands like LG, Fire TVs, Sony, Panasonic, Vestel, to name but a few. The notable exception is Samsung. Well, we're not present on their TVs. So this places us in a really unique and valuable position to push forward on important Ofcom legislation to help people with accessibility needs to access the right kind of viewing for them. And the need is great. We know that there are more than 2 million people in the UK who have sight loss and 11 million who have hearing loss. So there's a large proportion of people who have accessibility needs many of whom may not realise that they are within that category. Perhaps they have, over time, have moved into that category as they've got older, but we realise that there's an urgent need to support their viewing habits and to enable them to browse independently and to get to the content that they appreciate and like as quickly as possible. That's particularly important in a connected world where user interfaces are getting increasingly complex and people are finding it very difficult to navigate and find the content that they need. Just a sort of overview of how those difficulties can be manifest when people are looking at TV screens. We've got a slide here which shows some of the experiences that people can have when they look at TV screens. So if they have macular degeneration or cataracts or glaucoma, here's how TV screens can appear to them. So our brief very much when we've been designing the Accessible TV Guide, which I'll tell you more about in a second, has been to make UI screens that are as accessible and clear as possible to those audiences. And we know very much that manufacturers, when making their own native UI screens, have often tended to make screens that look very beautiful, that look very engaging, but may not be accessible and visible to people who need a simpler, more pared down, more obvious UI, which doesn't have dizzying numbers of visuals on it, overlays, shading, all kinds of things that can make the experience quite inaccessible for millions of people. So in the context of us having broad market reach through the Freeview Play platform, and in the context of us knowing that there's a large need to help people to navigate and select and enjoy content, Digital UK has created an accessible TV guide, which is a TV app. And this TV app is created through HBB TV, which David talked about just now, which is a TV standard for creating apps. And this accessible TV guide is available to all viewers on the platform, or the vast majority of viewers, up to 95% of our base, from channel 555. So on your remote control, if you were to press channel 555, which has a little raised bump on it, so is therefore accessible to people with visual impairments, then it takes you straight to this accessible TV guide if you have connected your aerial and you have connected to the internet on that device. As I just mentioned, it's available to about 95% of our Freeview Play connected base. So that has a potential to reach up to 12 million people. Sadly, it's far from doing that at the moment. That's part of the reason why I'm here today, is to spread the message and to get people to tell their organisations, to tell their members, to tell people on the street that this accessible TV guide is available to them and could help with their browsing. So the key features of this accessible TV guide, I'll show you some of the screens that bring it to life in a second, but the key features of this accessible TV guide are that we've simplified the navigation. So unlike a traditional TV guide, EPG, that often is laid out as a grid with many, many programs shown on it, what we've done is we've simplified that and brought it back to a list view guide, which is much simpler and just lists the program on that one channel at the current time and in the near future. We've also made it possible for viewers to filter content based on their accessibility needs. So they can filter it by content that's subtitled, that's audio described, or that's signed. And critically, what we've done within this dedicated space is make sure that this guide is permanently zoomed. There's no zooming in and out, fiddling around with buttons in order to read the content on the screen. It's permanently at a large scale setting so that legibility is increased and really, really easy to read. Ditto, we've made sure that there's a high contrast display. So we've stripped back any noisy looking colouring or branding and just paired it back to a grey and white UI with the focal point being eye-catching red colour so that people can really see exactly where they are on the screen and navigate simply. In addition to this, we've also implemented text-to-speech technology in order to help people with visual impairments as well. And that was particularly difficult to do. So the text-to-speech is available on a subset of devices, but still widespread across many different price points. So here's an example of some of the visuals of the Accessible TV Guide. What you're seeing here is the landing screen that you come in on. There's a welcome screen and a welcome video, and then you come to this page where you can customize your own preferences for viewing. So you can select text-to-speech, audio description, subtitle, sign language. And also within the text-to-speech, you have options for a male, female voice, and you can decide your own volume and your own speed. So you can really customize the experience to your own needs. When you get into the app, as I was saying before, here's the list view EPG. So you're seeing what programs are on a particular day, on a particular channel, going forward that evening. So it's very clear, very simple, and people can easily see which accessibility versions are available for each program. You can move across days. You can move from today to tomorrow and see for each of those channels as well. And it's a 7-day forward EPG, so you can see everything there. As you move down onto a list of programs, you get more information about each show. So here you're seeing an example where someone has focused on pointless. It gives you a small visual for that program to try and entice you to go and view it. And then when you click on a program, in this example, you move down and click on BBC Music 6, you then get some valuable content information about that show, with a synopsis and an image. So I hope that gives you some good background into what the app is itself. I'll speed up a bit because Nigel's got some interesting stuff to say as well, so I won't take too long. But the real spark of building the Accessible TV Guide was the Ofcom requirements that came to us in 2018, and we've been implementing those with manufacturers since. So we wanted to improve the viewer experience, as did our manufacturer device partners. And some of them did struggle to implement these innovations themselves because of cost, because of design resource, etc. So helping them by giving them this app was also really useful for them to comply with Ofcom regulations. And Ofcom regulations related to all these areas that I talked about: text-to-speech, filtering of content, magnification, and high contrast display. So the background to finding this solution was that we have this very strong organisation led by Digital UK and supported by the PSBs. There is strong adoption of HDTV standards across the industry. We're very fortunate in this country that that's the case. So many of the devices have either just worked with the Accessible TV Guide or with working with manufacturers have worked. So we're able to get the adoption up to really, really high rate of about 95%, which is world leading, I'd say. And then this has enabled us to deploy the Accessible TV Guide at huge scale across the horizontal market. So customer benefits have been that it can be deployed on all older devices as well as the new devices, so that gives us huge reach, and we can roll it out across the existing customer base. It's free. It's also free to manufacturers, so they haven't had to pay for it. It's been something that we have given them to provide to their users. It's ready to go. There's no installation. It's just available at 555. So as long as you've connected to the aerial and connected to the internet, just press 555 and you'll see the app. And as I showed you before, it's customizable, so it really does. Can be tailored to your own personal needs. We've had a great design process supported particularly by DAC and AbilityNet, with testing and feedback loops from them and redesigns based on what they have said. Had great engagement from RNIB and Action on Hearing Loss, and increasingly we are reaching out to Scope and getting traction with them too. So all those organisations have been wonderful in providing feedback and really giving support to this. So I won't go too long into the technical overview on this, but what we did find was that it has been a really successful development of this service. There have been particular problems with around text-to-speech. So text-to-speech is available, I think, on something like 55–60% of devices, so a subset of the devices, because text-to-speech is delivered through the Google Cloud, and it's sometimes too laggy. And we wanted to maintain a really, really good level of service. So we have made sure that it's available only on devices that provide that level of service. And yeah, the rollout has been very successful, but on each of these devices, we've had to make sure that the testing is right, the experience is quality enough, and we've been very, very clear that there is a clear rollout and ability to manage this app in life. So wherever there's been any problems, we've been able to roll back very quickly. So lastly, just thinking about what is on the roadmap for the future. At the moment, the TV guide is focused on linear content, but we're also going to be enabling it to be ready on-demand content as well. And I'll just show you some visuals for that. We're also continuing to do refinements and optimizing the text-to-speech as well for continuous improvement. So in the future, as I said, we will be introducing on-demand content as well. So there will be areas like this where you can browse simplified, high-impact areas that have the accessibility versions of the on-demand content that you require. So lastly, I'd just like to say, if anyone wants to get in contact to discuss this further beyond the questions just now, then please do, and please let people know that it's available on Freeview Play connected devices at 10 on 555.
Thank you, Olivia, for the introduction to how Freeviews apply to HBBTV existing standards. Apologise to those who are struggling a bit with the audio. We'll try to address that in anything future. Next, let me hand over to Nigel Moore, my colleague, and he'll explain about how HBBTV are looking to adjust the standards to try to enhance further from what Olivia has already presented today. Hi, Nigel.
Hi, David. Can everybody hear me?
Loud and clear.
Great. And hopefully you can also see my screen as well.
I can, in presentation mode. Perfect. Thanks, Nigel. Good. Over to you.
So a little bit of a self-introduction. I'm Nigel Moore, work for the TV business unit for Sony Europe with David. I'm a white male, just into my 50s. Still got some hair, but it's starting to grey somewhat. So a little bit about HBBTV is what I'm going to discuss, and then explain a little bit about what the next version, the upcoming version of HBBTV might bring to people. So briefly, HBBTV from a technical point of view is a standardized application environment that runs on TVs, but also set-top boxes. And this is in addition to the native application environments provided by a number of the TV operating systems, which varies between TV manufacturers. So for example, on the Sony Android TVs, we have Android applications, but also HBBTV applications. There's one major differentiator between HBBTV and the standard TV application environments, and that's that there's an integration with the broadcast, so enabling things like red button applications. But HBBTV also enables authors to write one single application that works across all brands and devices. So for HBBTV 204, the current version, 203, can do quite a lot of can realize quite a lot of accessibility features already with some imagination and some effort. We've seen the Freeview Play accessible guide as an example, but across Europe there are many, many other examples where the current HBBTV toolkit has been used to great effect. So extras that HBBTV 204 will bring is that there'll be some new features, for example, dialogue enhancement using some of the modern audio codec features. A little bit more on that later. But also an accessibility framework, and this will form a connection between the TV devices and the running HBBTV applications. And I'll talk a little bit about that next. So this is the accessibility framework. So We know today's TVs are including an increasing number of accessibility features, and these can be exploited primarily by the TV's native applications. HBB TV browsers support some accessibility features directly, for example, subtitles. And there are other features that HBB TV applications can make using the rich set of tools that HBB TV offers. So some things can be, some accessibility features can be built using the HBB TV application itself. But the features mentioned above vary widely between the TV vendors, and applications provide different sets of features. And there are some TV accessibility features that don't affect the HBB TV, that do affect the HBB TV environment, and others don't. And again, this is something that varies across TVs from different vendors. So it's a little bit of a messy situation, and neither party, the application author or the TV manufacturer, has got good visibility of each other's capabilities in this respect. Also, at present, there's only very, very limited information about the user's preferences and settings that are shared between the TV and the HBB TV application. So the results? Well, each application ends up creating a settings menu to capture the user's needs and intentions. And this in turn means that the users have to repeat the same setup with a number of different applications. And sometimes they have to do the setup with no accessibility support until they've entered into the application and found the menu. So the accessibility framework is one thing that's going to try and help improve this situation. So as an example of how the framework works, I'll use an example of the screen magnifier feature. So if you can imagine, there are two separate entities: the TV devices operating system, and there's the HBB TV application as indicated here. And the application, first of all, starts a dialogue with the TV, and it may ask something like, do you natively support the screen magnification feature? And if you do, does the user want screen magnification turned on? And in this case, the TV device will reply to the application and say, yes, I do want screen magnification, and it does affect the HBB TV environment, and the user has enabled it. So now the application's in a position where it's got a good set of information about what the TV device is capable of, and it knows its own capabilities as well. So in this particular instance, it knows that it's got a large layout format feature in the application that may result in a better end user experience for some users. So then it asks the TV if it would suppress its screen magnifier feature. And in this case, the TV says, yes, I'll suppress the screen magnifier feature. So now it allows the HBB TV application to enable a more specific and tailored way of solving the user's need. So in this case, it enables a large layout mode with larger fonts, maybe some slightly different navigation style as an alternative to the screen magnification, which is a generic feature that never works perfectly for all applications. So the framework, it enables the applications and the TV to have a constructive dialogue between themselves and decide who will take responsible for realizing an accessibility feature and who can do it best. It also allows rich settings data from the TV settings menus to become available to the applications. So there should be no more application menus for accessibility settings because they'll pick these up from the underlying TV OS automatically. I said I'll talk very briefly about the accessibility features themselves. So on the left-hand side of this table shows a list of the features that the HBB TV organization decided to try and tackle. On the right-hand side of the table, you can see that there's feature support in some of the current version, like version 203. Some of it's been in right from the beginning, like subtitles and captions. Some of these can be built using the HBB TV toolbox. So, for example, a high contrast user interface has always been possible in HBB TV by using different graphical styles and screen design. One of the key things for version 204, though, is this setting sharing between the TV operating system and the application. So, for example, a high contrast user interface. Previously, the application would have had to have asked the user if they want high contrast UI. Now it can pick it up from the TV settings automatically and change the user interface to address that need as best it can. Some of the other ones that are being added in the next version of HBB TV, and this works with some of the next generation audio codecs like MPEG-H or Dolby AC4. And this one will include a control API, which will allow the application to control the level of dialogue enhancement from within the HBB TV application. Another one is where there'll be better feedback to a user's actions. So, for example, if the user's navigating around a menu, it's fairly common to see audio feedback mechanisms to the user. But this trigger API added into 2.04 will extend this. So if the TV device supports maybe some haptic feedback or some visual feedback to the user, this trigger API will be able to activate those things for the user. An interesting addition that came in late into the HBB TV process was was addressing in-vision signing. Now, whilst TV devices don't support in-vision signing by themselves at the moment, they rely on assets provided as part of the application or the broadcast service. It was felt that it would be quite useful to have a menu in the TV that would allow users to indicate to the application that they want signed content to be made available to them. And this now gives the applications a good hint as to, for example, surfaced signed content options as a result of, say, a search operation. But it also allows, for example, when you launch an application and you get to the home screen could be populated with content variants that only support signed content, for example, without forcing the user to have to go out and seek and find these pieces of content. They'll be there by default. The last one was an easy menu access feature. When we analysed this in the HBB TV Association, it was deemed that this isn't a problem that HBB TV can solve. It needs to be solved by the TV manufacturer, and it is generally the case. But what we did realise was that there needed to be some notification from the operating system. So if some of the accessibility settings are changed in the TV, this gets informed to the application immediately to propagate any changes to within the application. So that wraps up my brief introduction to some of the new features for HBB TV 2.04. So thank you very much, and enter into the questions discussions part. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel, and thanks again to Olivia for the presentations. Apologies with the audio issues we faced earlier. I'm just trying to pick up the questions now from the chat. A question from Peter. How will HBB TV 2.04 deal with the issue of fragmentation across a range of TV platforms, such that if the HBB TV application uses its own magnifier, how will this not confuse users who may be used to the standard methods used by the TV? Nigel, so this is the sharing of the framework, yeah?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's probably there's some learning to be done by application authors, I think, as to whether they would want to offer their tailored layout for that application, or to go with the operating systems feature, which it will tend to be generic and maybe not perfectly tailored to individual applications, but it does have the advantage of consistency. And I think that that's quite a tricky judgment call that some application authors are going to have to make. And I think some experimenting and some learning will probably end up with the overall best outcome.
Thank you, Nige. Hopefully that answers Peter's question. I'm looking for the questions. We have a comment from John regarding it's shame we don't have text-to-speech on all TVs. We agree with that, obviously. It's ideal. It's just a comment from John there.
Exactly the same, John, and I would love to have text-to-speech on all of them. We do have them on a good cohort of TVs, and those TVs are all different price points. So yes, we're still working on that text-to-speech, and it's largely down to we could implement those on those devices, but the user experience wasn't good enough because of the limitations of the technology and getting the audio files played back
Fast stuff. Oh, good, Jeffrey can hear me. I'm so sorry, Jeffrey. I think there was problems on my device, but I'm glad you can hear me now. So anyway, John, I will continue to be pushing for text-to-speech on all TVs, and I'll let you know where we get to.
Thank you, Olivia. And I think obviously the presentation today, Olivia's explained where we are, and I just explained where we're trying to head towards. The important point is we're trying to make accessibility seamless. So when you turn on TVs through an application, it becomes a seamless experience. So I think obviously, and Nigel explained that the Spec 204, Nige, it's going to be completed until when? When we'll likely see that into products? Is it maybe 1 to 2 years' time? Do you expect?
I think we're probably looking at more than that. I think the specification could be completed maybe in the spring, although caveats apply. And then it's probably, you're looking at least 18 months before that's deployable in TV sets, and then it has to sync to the next TV product cycle from major manufacturers.
Thanks, Nigel. What we'd hope is when the applications start to be developed, the same as Olivia mentioned, is engagement with the accessible community to make sure things are working properly. The settings mentioned by Peter, hopefully those things can be ironed out before products come to market. So today we just gave a quick insight. I'll post a link regarding HBBT if you'd like to see a bit more about the association, the type of work they get up to. If you want to get in touch with us, we'll pop our email addresses in the chat as well later. Please get in touch if there's anything else we can follow up on. And just to say thanks for AbilityNet for setting up the session for us today. And thanks to presenters. Catherine, if there's no more questions, we'll probably look to close now, keeping our time.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you ever so much, David and Olivia and Nigel, for a great session and for giving up your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Monica, it's Thomas calling. Can you hear me?
Controls region. Admin 1 started recording. Participation in the meeting indicates our hybrid TV stand. Turn camera off. Mute button. Share desktop button. Mute button.
Hi, Monica. I heard your screen reader a second ago. Can you hear my voice? I don't know. Hi, Barry. This is Thomas Harrison. Can you hear me?
Hi there. Sorry about that. How you doing?
Hi, Barry. Yeah, not too bad. I'm sort of imagined you are as well, waiting to hear something to start up regarding televisions and the on-screen guides and programming and I don't know quite what. But is that what you're waiting for?
No, this is the accessible games one, I think.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
the
dear.
TV
Okay.
one's just been on. That was on 1 till just after. Sorry, half
Okay,
1
that's
till
finished,
just
is
after
it?
2.
Okay.
But
So, if we hang around here, it'll start, will it?
well, this one's supposed to start at 1:15, but I think they're doing back-to-back meetings. So if one runs over, then the next one is probably going to be a bit late.
Okay. Where are you calling from?
Halifax.
Halifax. I'm in Norfolk, just sort of southeast of Norwich.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Excellent. And how did you get involved in all of this?
I'm a contractor for Sky, but I've been doing accessibility for 13 years, I think. Yeah.
For
Started
Skype?
work experience at BBC, and just kept going.
Okay. Did you say Skype as in the video calling
Sky
thing?
as in
Sky
TV,
as in the right.
Yeah. What about yourself? Oh, still there? Am I still there?
TechShare meeting Microsoft Teams Google Chrome. Meeting Microsoft Teams. Share desktop button. More actions button. Show conversation button. More share desktop mute button. Turn camera off button. Mute button. Share desktop. More actions. Show conversation button. Show participants button. Hang up button. Thomas Harrison just left the call.
Text message to Mom mobile. Sorry about that. Full stop. Somebody was talking directly to me. Full stop. Call Mom mobile. Yeah, sorry about that, Mom. Somebody was talking directly to me there. Yeah, I think so. M&S. Yeah. Yeah. Fine. Yeah. Okay, catch you later. Fine.
TechShare Pro. Meeting Microsoft Teams. Google Chrome. Meeting Switch camera button. All controls region. Hack. Switch open Office app launcher button. App bar. Usable down arrow keys to navigate through the control. Admin 1 started recording. List with 1 items. Monitor match guest. Muted. Press shift plus F10 for more actions. All controls region. Admin 1 started recording. Our hybrid TV standards are making interactive content accessible. Turn camera off button.
Mm-hmm.